Investigators working near a damaged Home Depot truck after a motorist drove onto a bike path in New York, killing 8 and injuring 11. President Trump said the suspect in the attack entered the United States through a visa program Mr. Trump called a Chuck Schumer beauty. Andres Kudak, Associated Press, Washington. President Trump on Wednesday essentially blamed the terrorist attack in New York City on what he characterized as soft immigration policies promoted by Democrats, singling out Senator Chuck Schumer, the state's senior lawmaker and the party's leader in the upper chamber. The terrorist came into our country through what is called the diversity visa lottery program, a Chuck Schumer beauty. I want merit-based. Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump. November 1, 2017. He made clear that he was getting his information from Fox News, as he often does in the morning. We are fighting hard for merit-based immigration, no more Democrat lottery systems, he wrote. We must get much tougher and smarter. At foxandfriends.mr. Schumer quickly fired back at Mr. Trump in a statement saying that immigration is good for America. President Trump, instead of politicizing and dividing America, which he always seems to do at times of national tragedy, should be focusing on the real solution, anti-terrorism funding, which he proposed cutting in his most recent budget, Mr. Schumer said in a statement. I'm calling on the president to immediately rescind his proposed cuts to this vital anti-terrorism funding. The diversity visa program cited by Mr. Trump was created in 1990 by a bill supported by Mr. Schumer, passed by bipartisan votes and signed into law by a Republican president, George Bush. Mr. Schumer supported getting rid of the program as part of a comprehensive plan to overhaul the nation's immigration laws crafted by 8 lawmakers and passed by the Senate in 2013. But the plan was blocked in the House by Republicans who objected to other elements of the plan that they considered too permissive. Senator Jeff Flake, a Republican from Arizona who has broken with Mr. Trump, came to Mr. Schumer's defense on Wednesday. Actually, the Gang of 8, including its son Schumer, did away with the diversity visa program as part of broader reforms, Mr. Flake wrote on Twitter. I know, I was there. 8 people were killed and 11 were injured when a driver rammed a pickup truck down a bicycle path in Manhattan on Tuesday in what the authorities called the deadliest terrorist attack in the city since September 11, 2001. The driver, who shouted Allahu Akbar, was shot by a police officer and was in critical condition on Tuesday night. The suspect was identified as Sayo Saipov, who came to the United States in 2010 from Uzbekistan and has a green card that permitted permanent legal residency. Mr. Trump appeared to be referring to a policy that creates a class of immigrants called diversity immigrants from countries with historically low rates of immigration to the United States. About 50,000 diversity visas are distributed each year among 6 geographic regions, and no single country receives more than 7% of the available visas in 1 year, according to the State Department website. The program has been a target of conservatives, who proposed eliminating it in legislation endorsed by Mr. Trump that would crack down on legal immigration. The legislation would slash legal immigration to the United States in half within a decade by sharply curtailing the ability of American citizens and legal residents to bring family members into the country. Whether Mr. Saipov actually came into the country through the diversity visa program was not immediately confirmed by government officials, but conservative media outlets like Fox News and Breitbart News quickly blamed the program and pointed the finger at Mr. Schumer. Democrats on Wednesday noted that Mr. Trump was quick to assail his political opponents and immigration policies less than 24 hours after the New York attack, even though his own White House declared it unseemingly to talk about gun control policies in the immediate aftermath of the massacre in Las Vegas, in which a heavily armed American citizen shot and killed 58 people and injured hundreds of others. This is an unspeakable tragedy. Today is a day for consoling of survivors and mourning those we lost, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, said at the time, scolding those who called for more gun control. There is a time and place for political debate, but now is a time to unite as a country. But Mr. Trump, who during last year's campaign called for a complete ban on all Muslims entering the United States, has long sought to close the borders to many outsiders. He has signed several versions of a travel ban aimed mainly at countries with Muslim majorities even as courts repeatedly intervened. He has embraced a plan to cut the number of refugees allowed into the country as well as legal immigrants. Mr. Saipov came from Uzbekistan, which was not among the countries targeted by Mr. Trump's travel restrictions. A former Soviet republic, it has over the years hosted American and other Western military forces as part of the war in neighboring Afghanistan, although it forced the United States to close a base there in 2005 after a human rights dispute following a massacre. Likewise, Mr. Trump seemed to suggest Uzbekistan was part of Europe instead of Central Asia. Senator Chuck Schumer helping to import Europe's problems said call. Tony Schaefer. We will stop this craziness at Fox and Friends. Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump. November 1, 2017. The attack on Mr. Schumer offered a timely way for Mr. Trump to change the subject from the special counsel investigation that unveiled its first criminal charges this week against 3 campaign advisors to Mr. Trump. It also served to reassure Mr. Trump's conservative base, which was nervous after the president seemed to find common cause with Chuck and Nancy, meaning Mr. Schumer and Representative Nancy Pelosi of California, the House Democratic leader. After Tuesday evening's attack in New York, other Republicans pressed Mr. Trump to dispense with legal protections for the suspect in New York and declare him an enemy combatant. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, and a one-time critic of Mr. Trump who has lately become an ally, praised the president's tough stance. The one thing I like about President Trump, he understands that we are in a religious war, Mr. Graham told Fox News on Tuesday night, before the president's Twitter posts about Mr. Schumer and immigration. And to the American people, we are fighting people who are compelled by their religious views to kill us all. They kill fellow Muslims who don't agree with their view of Islam. They kill Christians, vegetarians, libertarians, you name it. So we're in a war. Follow Peter Baker on Twitter at PeterBakerNet. Eileen Sullivan contributed reporting.